And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Geoffrey Edwards, and welcome to another episode of Futsal868 Corner Talks. I'm your series moderator and president of the Futsal Association of Trinidad Tobago. Futsal868 Corner Talks is an online meetup series where global sporting professionals share their experiences and perspectives on the fastest growing indoor sport in the world, futsal. Tomorrow, Monday the 8th of March 2021, we celebrate International Women's Day. Today, in episode 42, we commemorate this great day through our discussion of women in futsal. Our guests are here to celebrate women's achievement, raise awareness against bias, and take action for equality. They are NAIARA, the ASSIS GRESTA from Brazil, supervisor of the Brazilian women's futsal team, and project coordinator on founding of the Brazilian Futsal Confederation. LUCIANA de Martin SILVA from England, women's futsal head coach and principal lecturer at Hartpury University, and former England deaf women's futsal joint head coach. Third guest is Ms. Jasmine Spence from Bermuda, Assistant Program Director for CP Athletic Development Academy. We want to say good day to all of these ladies and thank you very much for joining me. It is an utmost pleasure to have such esteemed ladies in our chat this evening as we celebrate Women's International Day tomorrow. But allow me the opportunity, before you all speak about who you all are and your journey in futsal, let's celebrate some of the women who have partnered with Futsal868 to make us who we are. From the first slide, which shows our General Secretary, Ms. Corinne Cecilia David, to our very last, our history makers, who participated in the Youth Olympics in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 2018. Women have been our backbone. And today, we want to celebrate with you guys what futsal means to you. I want to say again, thank you very much to be able to have such an international panel to speak to this beautiful sport called futsal. So let's start with NAIARA. Can you tell us who you are? And then we go on to Luciana and finish off with Jasmine. So, NAIARA, all yours.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Sorry about the English, I'll try my best. My name is NAIARA GRESTA and I was passionate about futsal since all my life. But I didn't got good teachers at school, and then I love it, but I couldn't be the best. As I couldn't be the best, I was always carrying the water and carrying the balls, and I was always around. And that leads me to founding my own team in Brasilia, the capital of Brazil. And I believed in futsal as a way to change girls' lives, because I don't think sports is only about inside the four lines. And then in 2015, I saw the Brazilian national team in a difficult situation because we had a great team. We were already 4 times world champions in the international tournament. And we just didn't have the resources to go. And I just couldn't see that. And then I volunteered to raise funds and to find ways to send the national team. And that made the travel possible. And Brazil was, for the 5th time, world champion. But it was not enough, because it's not about winning prizes. We have to develop a politics for this development of the sport in Brazil. And then we started talking to CBFS, that's the confederation that works with futsal in Brazil. And since 2015, we started making that program and developing competitions and basis category and everything to try to make a futsal closer for what we believe is the best for the modality. And that's where we are right now.
What a great introduction from one of the places that is known to have some of the best futsal players in the world. And we move across the pond to LUCIANA. LUCIANA, what time is it in England at the moment?
It is 8:10 p.m.
And I want to say thank you very much for sacrificing your beauty sleep to be able to spend time with us this evening. You're till LUCIANA. Tell us a little bit about yourself when it comes to futsal.
Yeah, so in terms of futsal, I'm originally from Brazil. So I grew up playing. I have 2 brothers, so we used to play since we were kids. And my favorite sport was football, futsal. So we used to play in the garden. Then I played for first division clubs for quite a while, so football for about 12 years before I came to England. So I've been in England for about 16 years now. And the key thing for me is I always used to play football and futsal. It wasn't just, I'm going to specialize in football or futsal. It was both at the same time. And I was so passionate about sports that I decided to do my graduation, my degree in physical education. So I became a PE teacher and worked for 2 years in Brazil before coming to England. But my main dream was really to play in Europe. And we are talking about, I graduated in 2002, so quite early on in terms of, if you think about internet connection and everything else going on. But because it was a dream, I decided to write to clubs, and I looked on the internet and I tried to find, okay, where can I go? I wrote to Bayern Munich, I wrote to Fiamma Monza in Italy. I wrote to some clubs in England. And the reason why I'm here today is actually because one of those clubs came back to me and said, we haven't got a space for this year, but we want you to come next year. So that was in 2004. That's when I came and I played for a club. I played football for a club for 8 seasons. But alongside playing, I was always coaching. And I would love to be playing futsal instead of football. But unfortunately, when I came to England, futsal for girls wasn't something that was quite people knew about. So I decided to really invest in futsal in terms of my coaching badges. I got up to the UEFA B, which is the highest you can get in England at the moment. And then just carried on coaching. Very recently, I had an opportunity to coach the England deaf women's futsal team. We finished 4th in the Euros in 2018, and also other opportunities that came along the way. But I think the main thing for me was to make that move from Brazil to England and try and support the growth of futsal here. That was kind of my main aim. And carrying on and trying to develop myself and how can I actually help those girls, I decided then to carry on and do a master's in sports coaching and a PhD in sports coaching. And that's why nowadays I'm a principal lecturer, but also head coach. So I try to combine that kind of theoretical and practical background. That's kind of what I like, really. It's a dual career. But that's a little bit about me. Sorry.
You're on mute.
We're definitely going to speak more to the many accomplishments that you have had along the way, Luciana. It's amazing the when I look at your resume, what you have achieved, as well as you, Nala, is brilliant and beautiful. And we speak more to that soon to come. Jasmine, from my Caribbean neighbor, my northern Caribbean neighbor, Bermuda.
Almost,
what
yeah.
a beautiful island. Jasmine, tell me as regards to you and futsal.
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So I'm quite new to futsal in a sense. I've only just gotten into coaching futsal, but I would say my football career started when I was 5. I played with the boys here. There wasn't really much going on in the female side of things here. That's okay. I went to school in the United States when I turned 13, boarding school, Mount Verde Academy. I was introduced to futsal there originally. At the same time, a coach of mine here had started up a futsal sort of academy. It's now known as CP Athletic. And I work for him now. But I would say we started about 7-8 years ago. It's still new here. The island is still very closed-minded when it comes to futsal. But we're hoping to change that. Because I don't know, I believe futsal and football can go hand in hand. I think we should have futsal tournaments and all sorts here. So right now it's sort of small, but we have our kids that are looking to do big things. So still new to it all, but happy to be a part of it, absolutely.
Definitely. One of the things I have noticed through the 42 episodes that we have done in relation to futsal and social issues that we have spoken to is that the futsal community is always willing to assist. Luciana, in order for me to get your number, I reached out to Doug Reed, who was part of the show, and he provided your contact like that. NAIARA, I got your number from Stefania. Jasmine, I got your contact details from Peter. It clearly shows that the futsal fraternity, global futsal fraternity, wants to see the development of the sport globally. And this is amazing to see how we can connect through this game. And I really want to speak to the challenges that each one of you all face along the way, noting that there may be some similarities, there may be some differences, but how can we work together to overcome those challenges once we have identified them? So once again, we start off with you, NAIARA, as regards to the challenges you have faced when it comes to female futsal in Brazil.
Okay, that's particular a team I love because that's the subject in my master's. And well, here in Brazil, football, soccer is everything. And then futsal comes right after it. But as we cannot have fields for everyone, futsal appears like a simpler way for playing football. And then all the boys usually starts on futsal. And what happens here, and that's what made the difference in female futsal, is that especially in poor neighbors or suburbs, we have the indoor, how can I say indoor place, the square, we have it everywhere. And then the boys and the girls, they're always in the street playing. They're not playing the field, they're playing the street. And then they have access and they develop individual skills very quickly. that's what made Brazil specialize about making athletes. But it's not enough. We saw in the last World Cup, it was not enough for men's World Cup, and it's not enough for women's World Cup. And in futsal, it was just going the same way. That's why I believe we have this facility to make individual with good skills, but we have to train our athletes here to start thinking a new model of game. We have to start looking at the game as a tactical game, not only individually. And it's so hard in Brazil because usually our young athletes, they're just playing the streets. They don't want rules for the games. And what we really try to achieve here in Brazil when we started making the national team was to bring a model that would bring like a system to the game that would make it easier for our players to achieve results. And not only that, it would make it simpler for the coaches, the teachers from the school to teach futsal, because we know FIFA see futsal as a development tool for the soccer. And we have to understand that that's the world we are. We are under FIFA. And so we have to understand that as we're gonna formate futsal athletes, we're gonna also formate a lot of soccer athletes. And of course, as an expectative, I think, well, we would love to see a Women's World Cup. I really hope FIFA is looking forward it. Here in Brazil, we already have the foundings. We're gonna make the 6th international tournament. It's probably gonna be in December, depending on the pandemics. But we're expecting to receive 12 national teams and to in any way pressure FIFA to start making a World Cup. Because I know here in Brazil, I already have a national team. I would love to see England with a national team, and also Bermudas. If there is, I really don't really know they exist. But we need to have FIFA supporting us. And then we're going to start to have more selections. Then we're going to start dreaming about World Cup.
That is totally amazing, because one of the things that you said there is having a World Cup. Luciana, what are your thoughts to a Women's World Cup? I know you're going to say yes, you want it.
Yeah.
But how do you think, what are your thoughts to, let's start with UEFA. I know that UEFA has their competitions and they are doing extremely well. Out of all of the confederations, UEFA competitions for football and futsal are top notch. What are your thoughts to their development of the female side of the game?
Yeah, I think in terms of like the World Cup, UEFA, and all those competitions, I think they're really important, crucial, because if you think about the girls who are thinking about, I want to become a futsal player, they need some role models to look up to. So who is the best futsal player? Who do you want to be like? And the more kind of competitions that we have, such as World Cup, Europeans, and like NAIARA just said, the more countries enter those competitions, the better it is for the sport. I mean, here in England, we've been fighting quite a lot in terms of trying to develop a national team, but also developing the league, which now is in place, the National Futsal Series. We also have a league, which is a university league. And if you think about the university league, we have about 90 plus women futsal teams. So it is growing. There are things going on. But at the same time, I think we've taken a step back in terms of a national team. I don't know if people are aware, but in terms of the strategy, the documents that we had that were provided by the FA, developing a women's team, national team was in there. But unfortunately, the strategy has changed. One of the reasons that I was given was because of the pandemic and the financial costs and so on. but I believe there are other reasons, like NAIARA said. It's very clear to us here that football is the main driver. So if there is no benefit to football, why should we develop futsal? So I guess it's really it's hard to say trying to convince people, because I don't think we need to convince people how good futsal is for developing people, and for performance as well. But in a way, it just feels like we need to convince people that futsal and football can actually work side by side. We don't need to just choose one or the other. We're not losing players by actually having a national futsal team. They can work together and actually make a stronger team.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Luciana. And before I go to you, Jasmine, is that my head coach, I see that Jasmine has just left. She'll be back soon. Obviously, technical problems. But Luciana, my head coach, the men's national futsal head coach, Mr. Constantine Constant, who is from the United States of America, former FIFA futsal instructor, have always said that futsal and football are husband and wife. Mm-hmm. They're king and queen. Mm-hmm. If football is the most popular sport in the world, futsal should be the second most popular sport in the world. Noting that it is the fastest indoor growing sport. Why do you think we have to still convince the powers that be the importance of futsal, considering that Spain dominated the world recently in terms of their golden generation with tiki-taka football? Brazil has been doing it for decades. Mm-hmm. And even when it comes to the rondo that the Manchester City incorporates into their technical style, it comes from playing out to the back in the 2-2 and sometimes the 4-0 formation that is seen in futsal. Why do you think that we still have to convince the powers that be that futsal is so important?
I think we need to look at people's backgrounds in terms of futsal. In Brazil, it's been there forever. In England, it's such a new sport. If you think about all of the other sports, it's a new sport in England. And I just think people don't know enough about it. So there was a time here a few years ago where futsal was kind of a word people would use for, it was cool to talk about futsal. It was nice. And actually, I think that the football coaches might have felt a little bit under pressure to adopt futsal. And I think that's not the way that we sell it. We just sell it futsal for futsal reasons. Mm-hmm. And of course, it can help football, but we don't need to make people feel like they have to use it. No, we don't have to use it. It's an option there. So I think the more people find out about it, the more they don't have that kind of wall, the barrier, because it's the unknown. And I've always worked that way. So therefore, I don't really need that. I don't want to change my ways. And I'm not talking about an institution specific, like person specific now. I'm talking about in general terms. Mm-hmm. We do have futsal, like you said, in academies. So it is there in terms of the grassroots or in terms of the academies, elite ground. But in terms of the women's, we have a league. We have a national futsal series, which only has been run for a year, really. And we have the university league. So there needs to be a stronger pathway into, like what I was saying, into the World Cup. How do we get there? How does we get to UEFA first? Because we're not even in UEFA. So I think it's a little bit about people's backgrounds. And I don't think sometimes they don't mean it in a bad way. They just don't know enough. But sometimes they don't want to know enough. And that's the issue.
Totally understand. Jasmine, you went to the US, you studied in the US. I'm going to ask you two questions as regards to your experience. Okay. The US, in terms of women's football, are a powerhouse. They have been number one for years. And that started off from their grassroots program. Mm-hmm. One, do you see futsal adding value to the US football game, or soccer game, one? And two, what is CP and Athletic Academy doing as regards to promoting futsal on the island of Bermuda?
Right. Well, I feel like futsal is everywhere. The whole world should be playing futsal. You know what I mean? We have this kind of, I guess, motto or this thing we tell our kids. We always say, you can take futsal onto the field. You can't bring the field into futsal. And that kind of separates the games a bit. A lot of times it's like this futsal thing and then there's football. But in reality, they're two completely separate games. And I only really got into knowing that when I got into coaching and playing for real and learning all the rules. And I was like, wow, this, there's not really a positioning situation. Everyone plays every position. I think futsal, in a sense, I kind of prefer futsal over football. I know that's kind of a big thing, but I think it's quicker. I think it's fun. I think it's fast. I think it shows full athleticism and full mental ability, vision. And you have to basically be a complete player. You can't hide in the defense or hide as a striker or wherever you feel fit. I feel like as a futsal player, if you can play futsal well, you are a complete player. And so I think with that, the US should absolutely adopt the game as a way of, they're very strong powerhouse at playing out there. They were very physical based, fitness, strength, blue collar type, not all of course, but for the most part, it was very much a physical game out there. And I think if they can add this sort of technical savvy side, like that's just, amazing. On the other hand, Bermuda and promoting futsal. It's been difficult. I'm not sure what it is here. We kind of get stuck sometimes, or maybe it's too hard to move forward. We don't even have a futsal court here. Like, what is that? We use indoor gyms from schools and stuff. And we make it, but we don't even have a regulation size court here. So when it comes to promoting, we kind of go the route of, if you can play futsal, you can play football better kind of thing. And we do stress that you can bring futsal onto the field. You can't bring the field onto futsal, and just having that as an extra tool in your belt, you're likely to sort of make big waves on the field. Here, everything is football. National team, everything is just football. Promoting wise, I would say we kind of just show off our players. Our players are kind of our, you see a player doing some cool stuff. Oh, he plays with CP Athletic. Yes, the futsal, and so we kind of using them. We're also using social media. Social media is a huge thing. But it's been difficult, I'll be honest. So if you guys have any pointers, let me know.
Most definitely. I mean, that's what we are here for. From the Caribbean standpoint, I can tell you that we are definitely willing to assist all our Caribbean neighbors to help develop the sport. Because, I mean, this is not being cliche, but it is true. From the time anyone starts to play futsal, they fall in love with the game.
Yes.
Our coach said it's something that once you touch that ball, there's no going back. And it's just totally amazing what that sport has done and can continue to do for the global game. Luciana, you are a principal lecturer at Hartpury University. I would like you to give us from an academic standpoint, what has futsal done for your students and how has it shaped their lives and even your own?
So I teach in programs that are not futsal specific. So they are two kind of like separate jobs, if you know what I mean. In terms of what my experience in futsal has helped me with my teaching is, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're teaching football, futsal, handball, volleyball, the kind of principles that we use to teach are very similar. So the kind of pedagogy behind everything we do is very similar. So I guess from coming from that background, from being a futsal player and then a futsal coach, helped me help students to become better coaches. Because I teach in a course that is forming coaches and PE teachers. So I could share my experience as a futsal coach with them and actually go through the challenges that I face, go through the kind of barriers and actually how they have been overcome as well. Because I think that's one of the key things, like Jasmine was saying, so many challenges in Bermuda, but it's no different here. I mean, the challenges are everywhere. For us to compete in the FA Cup in 2015, for example, there were days I was driving 5 hours to pick up players, take them to training, because they didn't have a way of getting there. But 5 hours for a training session that lasted 2 hours.
Yeah.
So the challenges are there, and we need to make, like, in terms of the students, the future coaches, we need to make them aware that it's not easy. It's not easy. If you want to become a coach, it's not easy, and you're not going to be rich. So you have to really love being a coach. You have to love the profession, because otherwise there is no point in doing it, really. So well done, Jasmine, for getting involved in that as well, in terms of what you're trying to develop that project, because I think the more we can do for the young people, the people who are, they're going to be the future. So how can we actually have some positive impact on them, and they can have some positive impact on someone else, and someone else. I think that is the kind of idea.
It's truly a domino effect. And when it is the team decided to put together this cast, Jasmine, you being on the show was very important to be able to sit, as we say, sit at the feet of the elders of these two powerhouse women, to understand how great it is Bermuda can be when it comes to futsal.
Right.
And one of the things I wanted to share with you is I would like you to demystify that, because it may be Brazil or England or United States of America, we all go through the same problems.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The most important thing is actually doing. And that to me was very important as a sport leader. Demystifying, thinking that because we are an island, that we have all the problems and all the other big countries don't. As she shared, as Luciana shared, we all have problems. And I'm actually amazed to hear NAIARA to speak as regards to that they also have problems. Going straight to Brazil, share with us some of the recommendations that you have given to the CBF as regards to growing the sport of futsal for the female community.
Well, actually, you know why in Brazil futsal grows so much? Because it's cheaper. Because it's cheaper to make futsal tournaments, and because, for example, in the national scholar competitions, it's cheaper to make the futsal one than to make the soccer one. Because in the soccer, the teams cannot play every day in a hall. They have to, I think it's 24 hours or 48 hours. They have to wait to play another game. And in futsal, you can put all the games in a hall, and then you have the teams staying a little longer, and then it's going to be cheaper. And that's why in Brazil it develops, because they were trying to just save money. And then we have the scholar championships, and we have the university leagues, and they didn't choose futsal because it was nicer. They choose futsal because it was cheaper. And what happened? As here in Brazil, we don't have resources, but the teams wanted to do great. And what happened was, even in schools or in university, they started giving scholarships to the best players. Look what happened. Today, we have in futsal more girls and boys also with degrees than in soccer. Even as we look that soccer is the richer cousin. But futsal, because just didn't have any money, what we had was the scholar leagues and the university leagues. And then all that system with the scholarship were development. So I would tell you, how would you develop the futsal? Make championships, small ones, 1 week ones, especially leagues with little ones, with 80-year-old boys. Here in Brazil, we started making mixed one with boys and girls until they got 9 years old, because then they are in the similar size. And after 12 years old, then they separate boys and girls. And as much as you can bring leagues and championships, and then the boys will go and they say, oh, that's better than soccer. but it's cheaper. You can do it in a week, you can do it in a weekend, and it's very cheap to transmit because you don't have to put camera all around the field. You just have to put the cameras in a gym. And yes, in Brazil, we still play in courts that don't have the futsal marcations. We just play in handball courts too. But we are the management that can make the difference. And I usually say that if the futsal is not built yet, if it's not ready yet, it's not something for us to cry. It's an opportunity for us to build something that we believe. And we will build it the way we think it's better, the way we believe. We want to make our dream come true here. And it's an opportunity. And I think you have in Bermuda an opportunity. And don't look it like a problem. Look it like a solution.
It is amazing to hear your passion. And I will go straight to Jasmine. And Jasmine, hearing something like that come from Brazil, what does that do for you?
No, it's a lot. I appreciate that. Our issues here sometimes have to do with the amount of kids, but I suppose, yeah, championships, it makes sense. Like the more kids will be interested. I guess here, I always think what's after even like that, if that makes sense. Like I always had to go overseas for my opportunities. And I feel like a lot of Bermudians feel that. So I think Bermudians sometimes give up on Bermuda before it even, because it's not here. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, we've always been trying to get teams to play us. And what we find is because it's football based here, I don't know, we'll play futsal against a football team, you know? And it's okay, they'll learn over time, but again, we need the tournaments and the competitions to create sort of this routine and a culture here. We like to teach the game right, all the rules, sole of the foot, you know, everything, but it's hard to catch all of Bermuda at once. And again, we don't really have the locations, but one or two would probably, we've tried it. We do this thing where we jump here and then we go back a little bit and then we jump there a little bit and we go back a little. So
Jasmine, what's the population of Bermuda?
65,000.
we have to understand. We're going to help. We're going to do our utmost best to help.
Yeah, appreciate.
Our utmost best to help. Luciana, when you heard NAIARA speak to her recommendations in Brazil, what were your thoughts to that? That's one. And two, I would like you to tell our viewers a little bit as regards to your accomplishments. And please, don't be humble at all. Let it fly. Tell us exactly what futsal has done for you and your achievements with futsal, especially when it comes to being co-host, co-head coach of the national deaf futsal team, and also being one of the only female coaches in the league.
Yeah, so going back to NAIARA, so your first question, in terms of suggesting that more competitions in place, I think that is a great solution, a great suggestion in a way. If I go back to the FA Cup experience here, so the FA Cup, it happens, it tends to be once a year, it doesn't happen every year. But in 2015, we had a really good team and we decided that we were going to go for it. Now, we didn't have a league. So who are we going to play against to prepare for it? What are we going to do? Because we need to train and we need to play against teams to be able to, become game ready. And I think one thing that we decided to do in that case is we created our own competitions. So we had a season. But you know what? Our season was, let's go to Manchester for a weekend. And there are some very good people there, very good coaches there who are really willing to help us out and help themselves as well. And let's play against them. Okay, next weekend, we're going to go to Liverpool and we're going to play against them. We ended up having a whole season of futsal that we organized ourselves. Every Monday, we had a training session. Most players were playing football as well. So we had training on Mondays. They had football twice a week and a game of football on the weekend as well, plus the futsal. And one of the things we said was, okay, what are our values? And we decided that training was key. There was not such a thing as, oh, I play in the Premier League here, I don't need to come training. No, there's not such a thing, because you're not a futsal player yet. We're training, we're practicing. And those players had been with me for like about 3 years. So we had a very good base. So in that sense, organizing those competitions along the way was crucial. And you know what? Because we focused on the process, we didn't focus on winning a medal. We focused on a day-to-day basis. We won the FA Cup. But why? Because most teams hadn't done that. Why? Because that requires time. That requires a lot of things that we only got that in the end because everyone invested. So if the players didn't invest, we wouldn't have been there. So I think that suggestion about starting with whatever you can, competitions, I think is a great suggestion. And I mean, I think in terms of the achievements, I know you mentioned, Jeffrey, about, the kind of things, talk to us about everything. But can I talk to you about what makes me actually like futsal, and actually I think is the most rewarding thing for me, and therefore an achievement for me. Of course. Yeah, it's really when I've worked with deaf players. I've worked in the men's national league as the only head coach, which was a challenge. I work with university students who sometimes might be really good futsal players, sometimes know nothing about futsal, can't even pass the ball, control the ball. So for me, if I look back and I think, okay, have we moved from A to B? Have we moved from B to C, C to D? Have we had a learning gain whilst I was coaching that team? If the answer is yes, I've done my job. Now, I can't control how the other teams are going to play. If they have players who are really, really, really good. If I'm playing against Brazil, imagine that, like my university team playing against Brazil. I don't expect to win, but I expect to do well in putting in practice what we've been doing. So for me, what keeps me in the job, what keeps me in this role as a futsal coach and passionate about it, is making sure that there is that learning gain, that people are developing. And by focusing on that, if we lose a game here or there is not such a thing as, oh my God, and everything is gone. No, we are still building up to become better. So I think accomplishments there, I won the FA Cup a couple of times, the University League in the last 3 years, we won the league in the Cups. But as I said to you, we never focused on we need to win that. We focus on a day-to-day thing, and then that's a consequence. We're going to get there in the end. But yeah, I think that's a little bit about me, really.
The small things matter is really and truly understanding that in order to build a complex structure, it starts brick by brick. Yeah. And with that being said, we're going to take a quick break and look at a former Trinidad Tobago national footballer who has been to 2 youth World Cups, who is now making a transition to futsal. And what he says about the sport is very interesting. We have this clip to show you all, which was just filmed last week, and based on the conversation we're having right now. And after the break, we'll discuss where your ladies see futsal, female futsal, in the next 5 years in your territory. You're watching Futsal868 Corner Talks, Women in Futsal. We'll be right back.
Training has been really good so far. A lot of the players have come in with a good attitude and a willingness to learn. It's a lot of information to take on board. Futsal is an entirely different sport in itself, and you really don't understand that and realize how technical and how much more there is to the game that differentiates it so much more from regular football. It's been a huge learning process so far, and I think a lot of players are willing and they're working hard to try and take in as much information as we can in this short time. There are some little things that do tie into each other, especially growing up playing indoor football or small-sided. I think a lot of Trinidadians have grown up playing small goal football, as we say, and whilst a lot of characteristics that you need in small goal are necessary, it's an entirely different thought process of movement, how to create room and time for yourself to even make a pass to receive the ball. It's an entirely different process. It's a massive opportunity. As Bonnie was saying to us before, a lot of times when teams have to go to a World Cup, they have to play 15, 20 games to get there. 3 games, it's right within our reach. We just do what we need to do in terms of putting in the work, trying to take on board as much information as we can in a short period of time. it's very possible, it's doable.
So that's our Road to Lithuania campaign. Say a prayer first, guys, as we take on CONCACAF from the 3rd to the 9th of May. We are grouped along with Powerhouse Guatemala and fellow Caribbean islands Martinique and Guadeloupe. And the top 4 teams from the championship moves on to Lithuania later on this year. So, as again, say a prayer first. And that's one of our players, former national Trinidad Tobago youth standout, who has been to 2 youth World Cups, FIFA World Cups, and he's now making the transition to futsal, Mr. Sean De Silva. So, ladies, before the break, we said that we're going to speak to where do you all see futsal in your neck of the woods in the next 5 years? I start with you, Jasmine.
I'm hoping that it gets closer to what it looks like in the UK. I don't know. I just know a little bit because Coach Pete, who's the director of CP Athletic, he's out there currently working on a different thing out there. And so I'm hoping that really that Bermuda can see the pros to the game and also see it as a separate game that people want to play as well as football. It doesn't have to clash. I find that a lot of times some of our kids are like, oh, I've got football training, can't come to futsal training. Okay, no problem, I suppose. But kind of a problem though, right? I don't know. I just feel like I'm hoping in the next 5 years we can get ourselves in a position where we have even 4 or 5 teams who go at it each year for a little cup or something like that. And then from there it grows and becomes this whole big thing. But yeah, I'm just hoping to see small growth, little steps to move us further. Yeah.
Jasmine, before I move on to the other guests, how is the Bermudan Football Federation? How is the national governing body acceptance of futsal on the island?
There's a little friction with that. I don't think they see the necessity for it. I think they see it as more of a, why are we going to waste our time and money on that? We're trying to get to the World Cup. And it's like, we can get to a World Cup in futsal too. Like, why not?
Faster.
Right? Faster. I was thinking that too. So I think there's just a bit of like push and pull with that. I don't know. Personally, I'm hoping to make some waves in the next 5 years that people start listening to me. But that maybe that's just wishful thinking. I don't know. But I just, yeah.
Give them a copy of this video with you speaking to some of the greats and let's see how they change their mindset.
Don't get it yet, but it's all right. It'll come. It'll come. I believe in it. Thank you.
I was a girl carrying a ball, and they didn't have money for the World Cup. And I did it. Go for it, girl.
That's what I'm saying. All right. Appreciate it.
Exactly. Luciana, next 5 years, what do you want to achieve?
Well, I think what is going to be achieved in England, I'm just kind of trying to think about where we're heading towards, because we've just had a change about the women national team not being the main focus, not being the focus in the women's side. But I think university leagues will be probably what we're heading towards. So the university leagues, as I said, they have about 90. There are about 90 teams, university teams, women's futsal team, about 150 men's futsal teams. The universities already have the facilities, they have the coaches, they have the money to buy the kit, they have the money to buy all the balls and everything else that they might have used for other purposes as well. So I think that's where futsal is going to be the stronger kind of area in the UK, in England. That's what I say. And also, I'd say the youth, kind of the children coming through now, they sometimes experience that in schools, or they might experience that via some kind of funds that have gone towards some clubs. So I'd say we're going to have a better or more prepared youth, more experienced youth in terms of futsal, but also universities. I think that's where my bet is on.
And what about you personally? Where do you see yourself when it comes to futsal in the next 5 years?
Okay, as you probably know, I've had a quite busy year this year. I mean, this year it's been COVID and everything else, but I'm also maternity leave. So I've just had my second baby. He's only 10 months old. And I think
congratulations.
Thank you. That was another challenge. And if I'm really honest with you, I haven't had a lot of time to actually think about my next 5 years in futsal. My main aim is to go back, and start again, progressively getting to a point where I can join an international team again and so on, which at the moment I don't see it's being feasible right now. And I actually had to decline one kind of offer that I've had recently because of family kind of comes first at this time. But saying that, my firstborn, I was coaching 3 months after he was born, and I was in a training camp. So that shows how passionate I am about futsal. But it's just taking me a little bit easier now, especially because of COVID and everything.
And the superwoman you are. How do you think has COVID, the Trinidad Tobago Olympic Committee hosted this week, sport and COVID? Do you think that futsal has actually helped the question of COVID, noting that the number of players are far less than, and the fact that we could be able to do, as NAIARA said, we can do much more tournaments in a shorter space of time, because now you have mega events such as the Olympics, anything over a greater span, increased number of persons, multi-city is now being questioned given this pandemic. What are your thoughts to futsal and COVID-19?
I'm going to just briefly touch upon that because I haven't experienced as much as, for example, NAIARA and Jasmine have, because I was off work for most of the year. But I think my main thing is an indoor sport. And that is the main issue in the UK, for example. We are just getting out of lockdown now. So progressively, we're going to get to be able to go indoors again and see each other in their houses or play sports indoor. But at the moment, we're only allowed from tomorrow to meet one person outside, not being for exercise or exercise purposes. So at the moment, we are in the house. No one is allowed to come in the house. We're not allowed anywhere. We're not allowed to play. So I think COVID, in terms of England, it had a big impact because it's the winter here as well. So it's quite hard for us to say, everyone can go indoors and play that, knowing about COVID. But I guess maybe in Brazil has been different. And I know in Italy, players are still playing. They get tested every week. I know in Spain's the same. But for us here, we haven't really opened the indoor space much this year.
And last but not least, our gracious friend from Brazil, please tell us what are the federation's plan? Do you think the federation's plan, 5-year plan, what are your personal plans as regards to developing the sport of futsal in Brazil and in your community?
Okay, I'll just invert the questions and answer about the COVID situations. Luciana, here in Brazil, as we have a lot of, I cannot say professional teams, but we have teams that exist exclusively because of futsal. And of course, all the resources are short. The championships are occurring, but with no public, with the testing, similar to what happens in Spain and Italy, and with also protocols, and it's working. It's not perfect. We do not have public, but we have transmissions, and it's working. But for example, our international tournament was supposed to happen last year, and then we moved it to July this year, and now we put it in December, because we are not secure to have national teams from 12 countries here, and it's very dangerous. About my expectations.
Before you move on to the expectations, can you tell us who are the tentative 12 teams to participate in that tournament?
Actually, I can't, because the invites were made, and with all the COVID situation, we were trying to include the 8 participants of the last international tournament. And then because of the COVID situation, we have a lot of refuses. And then with the change of the schedule, they just said, wait up, let me think a little bit. And it's going to depend on FIFA also.
So who were the 8? So who were the 8 in the last?
Okay. In the last one, we had Spain, Russia, Portugal, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Japan, Iran. Yes, but I think, just making a spoiler, I think we're gonna have more teams from the American South, South America, because we are just brothers here and we just play all the time in Copa America. And I think we're gonna have some, how can I say, debut from Europe also. No more, just that.
Can we get an invitation, please? Please and thanks. Can we?
Well, I can tell them you're interested.
Yes, very much so.
But does Trinidad Tobago have a female soccer futsal team?
As a matter of fact, as I said before, we participated in the 2018 Youth Olympics in Argentina.
Yes.
And we are definitely, so we are definitely in the process of building on that adventure that we had. So it will be very much well for us to be able to continue to grow, this sport among the female participants.
Wow.
So moving on, as you can,
I'll let them know you have interested. I know we just have 12 spots, but it's always good to see who have interested, because it's a pandemic year. Everything is then moving to the expectations and where I want to be in the next 5 years. Well, I'm a dreamer. I want to be in a World Cup, and I want to see our sports as an Olympic sports. I know that for us to be an Olympic sport, it's a movement that have a lot of people involved. And I know we have a lot of partners that are working on it. And that's the importance to have Luciana, Jasmine, Geoffrey, and we have to be all around the world believing that it can happen and moving all the points, because it's going to be a game changer for us. If the futsal is in the Olympics, everything changes. And if the futsal is Olympic, well, we can see the World Cup coming. We are expecting to invite FIFA to come and watch the international championship here. We program to make it perfect, to make them see that we're ready, to make them see that we have a product that can be shown to the world, not only as a social sport or a participation sport, as an entertainment sport. In the last international championship, it was amazing. And CONMEBOL have made the transmissions for the last Copa Americas. And here in Brazil, we started a good conversation with the open TVs and the sports TV, and we have the transmission of the games. And that's changing everything here, because then we have financial support, because we have sponsors, and sponsors change everything. And I think Brazil have a responsibility with futsal, because part of being the reference in futsal comes with that responsibility. Our country is not a good responsibility taker. We usually don't do good with that, but as the CBFS, we're trying to make things different. And we're trying to make all the contacts to make sure those passes are open to the World Cup as to the Olympics. For female championships, we have, for here in Brazil this year, the NFFB. It's like a new female futsal It's going to be the National League. It's the reborn of the National League. And it's probably going to start in May. It's going to be a big competition with great teams. And we expect it to be a window to open way not only for Brazilian teams, but also for teams around the world, because we do know that's a responsibility we care.
That is amazing. No, you go ahead, continue.
No, it's okay. I finished it.
A question I have to ask you that while you were speaking comes up to mind, and I know Jasmine will want to hear it as well. When you had to get sponsors or funding for the national team, what did you tell sponsors to convince them to give you their money?
Well, the first time I was also starting with that, and my talk was always, look, we need that. We're the poor girls that play soccer in Brazil. And that didn't work so well. It worked for the first time, and all the money that came was like a social money.
Right.
But it didn't brought more money because people like to donate, but it won't move the wheel. Yes. What we need is to create something to sell.
Yes.
And today, as we're talking about women, here I develop another project here that uses soccer allied to study, and we have we can develop leadership, and we can develop social growth, and we can develop the change in the life of the girls through futsal. Why? Because we have girls in a field that is usually men-like. And then you're teaching that girl that if she can play soccer, she can be an engineer, and she can work computers, she can be a pilot. And that is something that sells a lot today. We have a lot of company that wants to invest in gender equality. And I think today that's the key, especially for a starting program. You don't have to be too attached to that, because your way to go is to build a product that in some days you're not going to be the girl that needs to be a leader. You have to be the sports that's ready to be sponsored. But it's a good starting key. The companies want to invest in gender equality. And in that way, female futsal can get more money than the male futsal.
Thank you very much for that. Jasmine, I hope that you really and truly grasp that piece of advice. I grasp it, because we are part of one of our pillars, one of our 5 pillars at Futsal868 is inclusivity. And inclusivity as regards to all persons, but more so when it comes to female inclusivity, noting that our ambassadors have been the girls who represented us in 2018. We're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, we have closing remarks from each one of you all. You're watching Futsal868 Corner Talks, episode 42. Thank you very much, ladies, for being here. You are our women in futsal. We'll be right back.
You will not be able to stay home, brother.
Uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze
always catches me dancing one of the top songs of 2020, Jerusalem, and totally enjoyed it. From South Africa to Trinidad and Tobago, it has been amazing to be able to have our friend in England, Brazil, and more so Bermuda. Ladies, an utmost pleasure. We start with you first, Jasmine, as regards to your closing remarks.
Thanks for having me. It's a lot to learn. I'm hopeful for Bermuda growing. I think what we have here now, for what we have, I'm impressed. I think our academy does really well promoting the sport. I just want all of Bermuda to kind of get on the same page. Don't see it as an enemy. We're not versus you. We want to be with you. Football. I'm also a football player too. You know, I love football. So I don't know. I'm happy to learn, and I'm happy to stay in contact and grow and flow. And I don't know, I think at the end of the day, keeping the kids in mind is like important. I think a lot of coaches sometimes forget that this isn't about us and winning the championship and this, and yeah, it's nice to win, but it's always about development, not just in the game, but life skills as well. The game can teach you so much about life. So keeping sort of your heart in the right place is important, and seeing you 2, 3 here all on good vibes, and it's nice. It's given me a nice, I'm happy to leave on this note in a sense. I feel like I've learned a lot from you guys. Thank you.
Luciana, your closing remarks, but I also would like you to speak to gender equality, and with tomorrow's theme in International Women's Day being challenge the change. Tell us, give advice to the young ladies how they can challenge the change in society by becoming better leaders, and how futsal can be used to do such.
I think the main thing is, if you believe you can do something, just go for it. Just go for it. Don't give up because someone else told you can't. So I think that's the first thing. I wasn't told. I didn't believe to start with that I could be a futsal player. And therefore, every time someone was going past my house, in the front garden, I would pretend I was playing volleyball. And I was 10 years old, 12. That's what society was making me believe. But I had to change my mind and actually think, you know what? Why can I do that if my brothers can do it? So I think the first thing is believe you can do something. Don't let people tell you can't. Second thing is start small. Every single step matters. Take all the sacrifices as investments. Don't see that as a negative thing, like NAIARA mentioned before as well. So it's not a sacrifice, it's an investment. Take all the obstacles as challenges, and challenges are needed to overcome. You need to overcome challenges to get to where you want to be. So just believe in yourself, and you can do it. And that's my message. It's more step by step, and you can get there. And I think my final message, one thing, for example, in terms of the men's, that I used to coach the men's team, if I didn't believe I could do it, they wouldn't believe in me. So the first person to believe is yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, who else will? No one will. So start with yourself. Believe in yourself.
I really want to thank you for that contribution. A lot of persons may think it's cliche. A lot of persons may think that it's easier said than done. We know it's easier said than done. But we continue to take it one at a time to strive to make a better community, a better world in the sport that we love, which is futsal. Before I move on to you about your final comments from you, NAIARA, I just want to take time to recognize one of the comments from our guests, Miss Melissa Valdez, who writes, I commend your unwavering steadfastness to women's improvement in futsal, especially as we observe International Women's Day. Great conversation, ladies. And I want to say thank you very much, Melissa, for that comment when it comes to supporting what these ladies have been doing and will continue to do on the global sporting front. On to you.
I want to thank you very much for the opportunity. As I said, I'm a dreamer and I dream about futsal. I dream it every day. I dream it since I was just carrying the ball and I just couldn't make a goal. But I didn't know my past would lead me here. And I will still dreaming and I want to expand that network. I want to be open to you all. My name is Izzy. You can find me in the LinkedIn or Instagram. I'm always open to talk and to make our sports to achieve the size it have to achieve. And thank you very much. And I'm here join you and dreaming together because our dream will come true.
Most definitely. And ladies, I want to be give a warm welcome to each one of you all to find us in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, Bermuda is exceptionally beautiful, guys. I don't think that our waters, and I'm going to be fair here, our waters are not as beautiful as Bermuda's own, but our energy as a people, we have a great carnival that can actually rival Brazil's own. You all could check it out on YouTube. You could check it out on social media. Trinidad and Tobago's Carnival, the greatest show on earth. And I definitely invite you all to be a part of our culture and our people and enjoy our embrace our warmth as a people. One nation, one people, one Futsal 868. And I really hope that you all can be able to come and see us and to be a part of this great island that is.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey. Thank you.
You're most welcome. So you guys be safe. Luciana, congratulations again. God's richest blessings to you. Have a wonderful week ahead, guys. And let's continue to enjoy what we have before us. And most importantly, happy International Women's Day tomorrow. So thanks again on behalf of our team.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye.
So that once again is another episode of Futsal 868 Corner Talks. We had the utmost pleasure of having three wonderful ladies speaking to their accomplishments, their challenges when it comes to futsal globally. Noting that tomorrow is International Women's Day, and these guests certainly did celebrate women's achievement, raise awareness against biases, and they took action when it comes to equality. I want to say thank you very much for joining us. But before we leave, as always, you know what we have to do. But we have a couple of things to do as well. We want to remind you all of the women who have made Futsal 868 great. She doesn't have a name there, but she's our General Secretary, Miss Corinne Cecilia David. That lady keeps us in check. She makes sure that this company, this organization, this national sporting organization is on track. And take note of the ladies in our team, Miss Sophia Sylvester, Miss Irene Marquez, and last but not least, Miss Chariel Gordon. Thank you, ladies, for always making sure that I am and the other members of Futsal 868 are well taken care of. As tomorrow celebrates World International Day, so too begins our virtual run. There are many persons who ask, what is a virtual run? Well, guys, it can be done anywhere at any time. Log on to raceroster.com, search word Futsal868. And when I say anywhere, literally anywhere in the world. From tomorrow, March the 8th to April the 5th, you have 30 days to complete 10 kilometers or 6.2 miles. It's as simple as that. For those in Trinidad and Tobago, that's 3 Queen's Park Savannas, guys. That's 3 times. And you have 30 days to do that. So log your time, use your Fitbit, use any app, and register it. You can send us all the information and look out for a video on our social media as regards to what is a virtual run and how you could be a part of it. But again, check us out on raceroster.com and search word Futsal868. Note very well that our charity partner is Coalition Against Domestic Violence and the cause, Stopping Violence Against Women. Take a look. We will not stop. We won't stop. My name is Geoff Edwards, series host and moderator, as I will leave you every afternoon as long as there is breath in me. Remembering that racial inequality, knowing that there is no difference in the human race, shall exist. Racism ends with me. This is your host, Geoff Edwards. To have a blessed evening and an even greater week. Happy International Women's Day to all our ladies. Have a good evening.
It is our responsibility
to commit to making a positive difference in our society.
Listen, read, be a standing voice against discrimination and injustices. I am Irene Marquez.
I am Dee.
I am McKenna.
I am Jariel McCullen, and racism ends with
me.